Coming to you from the Venmo studios and sponsored by GoFundMe. It is the Believe in the Southside podcast. I am Steve-O. You can find me on Twitter at Drunk Shy Sox Fan. You can also find me on Venmo at SM Smirt if you want to pay for a drink. And with me, as always, the loved, the hated, the always beautiful Carrie at That Baseball Fan.
What's up, Steve? I just wanted to point out that people do Venmo. Now it's a big thing, Venmoing for like people's bachelor parties and shit like that. It's totally normal behavior. So thank you for that. But Steve, I think it's been about a week or two since we've been on. Same shitty baseball team, so I'm excited to, talk again for the next, half hour about the shitty baseball team and just, what's been going on with you. And I'm ready to get going.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that, we have to resort to this as the first comment of our show right here underneath by our guy, Senor Sox, who I blogged to join us, and he did. Thank you, Senor. Senor might be our most loyal listener. I'm very grateful for it.
I love that guy.
I love that guy too. The fact that that's our top comment and that's like how focused we are on this baseball team. Yeah, exactly. Right. Carrie, do you want to show us a little love for some Venmo?
There's a tit right there. If we actually get if you get like a Venmo, I might show a tit. So who knows?
There we go. So Carrie's going to be the next White Sox Twitter personality to go on OnlyFans. That's going to be the move.
Oh God! And there's been too many man titties and pictures of asses and shit like that. Nobody wants to see that shit.
Come on, you're not gonna get in like a black Speedo man thong and hold up a baseball. And I'm not referring to anybody in particular at all, right? So, because Jordan Miller is also here live, and he said he's here for you and not me. Fuck me. F me, pardon me. He did not use the actual word. He said F me. Keeping it PG here. We're a family-friendly podcast. I'm going to talk about my honeymoon, and how I enjoyed my honeymoon and I didn't stay on Twitter the entire time, unlike Jordan Miller, who continuously messaged us in the group chat during his week-long honeymoon last year. So when the White Sox were just as disappointing as they are now.
Shouldn't Jordan be in like hiding right now? They're like investigating him or something like that in Vegas.
Oh, that's right, Mr. Tupac's murderer.
I wouldn't be too much out there, Jordan. You might be in custody soon.
Feds are watching, Jordan. Just remember,
they're watching.
Feds are watching. Senor already knows about that. So. Well, on that note, Carrie, let's talk about this baseball team and how the title of our episode is "They're Still Shitty." Is that the truth? Are they still shitty?
What? The Sox? Absolutely, they're still shitty. I mean, we're still talking about a team that's 15 games under 500, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or 14 games.
Yeah, 14 games under.
14 games under, probably. I haven't even looked at the standings recently. Like, that's how disinterested I am. But there's been no change. I feel like the last show we did, there was no change from before, and then
This is my favorite part of the show.
Same with me.
Is the live comments, and I just randomly click on them to try and get you to laugh.
Yeah. No, I love it. Let's just not put any of somebody's postings up there just to not give them attention. But
Sam Jonathan Davis?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
But it's just funny, from the beginning of the season till now, we've keep on having the same combos about how they're still shitty. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and thank you, Senor. Congrats on the segs. Yeah, it really is. It's awful watching this team. It's just not. There's nothing exciting outside of Luis Robert, which leads me perfectly into Senor's earlier comment: trade everyone. Don't care. Nobody should be untouchable. Do you believe this to be true?
I think the Sox should keep two players. One player for sure. I think Luis is untouchable.
Yeah, number 88.
I think 88 is the only untouchable he's shown. I mean, if there wasn't a Shohei Ohtani in the AL, he's your front runner for MVP right now, even with a team that's 14 under. Like, this guy's fucking unreal at everything. So, and I think he's under control until 2027, I think. So there's just, why trade him now when you can build around that guy? And the Sox never have a cornerstone guy to build around, like a Luis. Build around him. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I agree with Senor.
This is the most well-rounded talent that the White Sox are, a talented individual, I should say. Mm-hmm. The most well-rounded, talented individual that the White Sox have had on their ball club since Frank Thomas.
Exactly.
And obviously, like, Frank Thomas obviously didn't bring killer speed to the base paths or, plus defense, Luis is that guy. Luis is the equivalent to basically having another Ronald Acuna. I mean, like, the Braves aren't going to trade Ronald Acuna.
No.
Why would the White Sox trade Luis Robert, right? He's the cornerstone. He's your new face of the franchise. He's what the White Sox thought they had in Tim Anderson in 2019, 2020.
That guy's a fucking bum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's we would talk about bums of the week right here, like our guy John said. Sorry, no government
We're not
names.
doing that segment.
Sam Davis. We are not doing that segment. That's not our show.
Thank God.
So I that's exactly it. It's 88, end of list, and that is it for me. Dylan Cease could be on the trading block. Mm-hmm. I know that's crazy talk. Like, I get crucified by some people for saying this. Dylan Cease is a tradable piece if you get the right return.
I agree.
If you get a number one prospect and then some for Dylan Cease, you absolutely pull the trigger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I might even do it for Jackson Holiday straight up.
That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen with the Orioles. I don't think they give up Holiday.
Yeah, there'd be no fucking reason for them. People don't understand, and they're comparing Cease to like a Chris Sale trade. Chris Sale is not Dylan Cease. Chris Sale had a Hall of Fame trajectory, right? The guy was fucking unreal. I mean, a lefty with tons of years of control. Dylan Cease has had 1 year that was really good, right? He's been decent this year lately, right? He has been, but he's not going to net you a Moncada Kopech. He's not. He's going to net you probably two top 100 prospects, not a number one though, right? Not like the number one overall, but I can see him getting you a return of like a guy that's maybe in the top 15 and then a guy that's in the top, 50, top 100, and then some other guys. So I just don't want Sox fans to expect that they're going to get a fucking, Chris Sale return for Dylan Cease. I just don't see that happening.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can't think that he's going to net you that much after one Cy Young type season, right? I mean, it was a very, very good season last year. Don't get me wrong. If he was having that kind of season again, then we could have those talks, right? Yeah. But he's not having that season this year. He's a middling pitcher. He's a guy with a 4 ERA. I mean, he just doesn't have that value right now. Mm-hmm. Are the Sox actually? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Sox are playing right now as we record this. So thank you to those of you that are tuning in live and watching the Sox at the same time. We really appreciate that.
I know this is going to sound crazy. It might be a hot take.
Hit me with it.
But I think Cease is more like I would rather trade Cease and keep Jake Burger.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, and here's
I don't understand the whole Jake Burger trading him. You have him for like the next 6 years so cheap, and the guy is going to hit 30-something home runs this year, 40 home runs. He's getting better as time goes on.
Right. I was worried about the sample size thing with Burger because what we saw last year was he got really hot for a streak of time, and
that's
oven hot take, baby.
Yeah.
he got hot for a really short period of time and then fell off an absolute cliff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas he did cool off. Don't get me wrong. Berger has cooled off, but it's like he got really hot, cooled off, and started to fall off a cliff, but then picked himself back up. And that's what you got to see out of a guy like Jake Berger. Jake Berger is going to be a guy that has to mash. And he's come up in limited time. He's been pretty freaking good at the plate. Don't expect him to be amazing defensively. He's not going to develop into a Yoan Moncada defensively at third base, but he's going to hit, right? Mm-hmm. You drafted him 9th, I think, overall.
I think 11th.
Or 11th? 11th overall.
11th. One of those two, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you took him top 15 for a reason.
11th. Yeah, he was 11th.
Yeah. You took him at 11 for a reason, and it's because he can mash the baseball. And guess what? He's healthy, and he's mashing the baseball. I wouldn't trade him either. I don't think he's untradeable, but I wouldn't trade him either. I also don't think you're going to get a massive return for a guy like Jake Berger on a contender. Contenders are the ones who are buying right now, and they're not looking to buy a Jake Berger. They're looking to buy a Dylan Cease. They're looking to buy a Lucas Giolito.
My point was more like, you're going to have to build around something, right? Like, you can't just trade fucking everybody. Right. I mean, like the Sox in 2015-16, they didn't even do that. Right. They kept some guys along the way. I'm looking at this. Jake Berger's not a free agent until 2029. He's got over 100 and he's, I know small sample size the first 2 years, but I mean, this year's got a 118 OPS plus. I mean, he's a above average hitter. And why would you get rid of that for a guy that's like controlled for the next like 5-6 years? I don't know. I like to keep, a guy like him and Luis where, you have two cornerstone guys if you're stuck with a fucking Moncada, So, I don't know. I don't see trading him. I don't see really there's value. I don't think you're going to get enough back in return for Jake Berger unless it's like a top 100 prospect to trade him with all that years of control, which I know if he went to if we traded him to like a different fucking team, right? Like, the Orioles or, I don't know, someone else that needs a third baseman that can mash, he's turning into a 40 home run guy a year. So.
For sure. Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, he has that he absolutely has the potential to be a 40 home run guy. I mean, if you look at his career stats, he has 30 home runs over 500 plate appearances, okay? You give him 600 and you give him time to develop, he absolutely can be a 500 home run guy 100%. At his peak, as long as he continues to develop. I love that Jim in here. Oh, the game is on? I think that's where I'm at with the White Sox right now. It's unfortunate, but that's where we're at as fans.
They're not even must-view TV. They're not even like, I don't even know when they're fucking on TV, So. Could care less.
I mean, do you think that they decrease payroll again going into next year?
Absolutely. Jerry Reinsdorf did it after a year that they were supposed to be World Series contenders, right? And, they gave Benintendi money, but they literally got 2 free agents, 2 people, Benintendi and Clevenger. They did nothing to really help this team. You have Keuchel's contract officially falls off this year. You have, and then you have Grandal and Lance Lynn that you're not going to pay. That's like $50 million right there, right? Joe Kelly's another like 10, potentially Graveman. So I think they're going to shed like 60-something million this year, but what are they going to fucking do with it is the problem, right? Like, what are you going to do with that money? So.
Right. Absolutely. That is a great question of what they're going to do with that money. And to be honest with you, knowing Jerry Reinsdorf and knowing the way that they've performed the last 2 years with the payroll they've had, I don't see it getting spent at all.
Yeah.
I really don't. Tukey going to be in the rotation in 2024. You think that's a hot take there from Jordan?
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Honestly. It's just like one of these Jordan Miller fucking AAA people who gives a shit about Touki Toussaint. I'm sorry.
Former top 100 prospect, Touki Toussaint.
I think Rick Hahn, and I think it's a running joke from my fellow Jew brother and Bennett Carroll, where Rick Hahn is literally like the 2016-17 like top 100 prospect class. And if one of those guys gets like dropped, Clint Frazier, Tuki Toussaint, like
Right.
picks them up right away. He like loves that class of people.
So you're telling me somebody's going to get traded for Blake Rutherford again, right? He's going to become a White Sox.
Yes,
He was apparently mashing in. I don't know if it was AA or AAA.
It was AAA for like the Nationals, I think.
Absolutely hilarious. So, it's great to have Billy Wires, the legend, in the chat. So happy. I can't wait for him to get.
I've never actually heard of him before.
You've never heard of Billy Wires? Wow.
No. Is he Sicilian?
He might be.
So he's white.
No, Sicilian. Remember, he's not white. He's Sicilian.
That's right. Okay.
All right. That being said, I want to run through the roster, and you can give me your quick trade or not trade. And I'm going to skip like obvious ones, right? Like they're not trading Andrew Vaughn, right? They're not trading Luis Robert. They
could trade Andrew Vaughn.
You really think so?
I've been seeing a lot of smoke around it on Twitter, at least, and like little like teams. But I honestly would not be upset if he got traded. I'm off that bandwagon. But we could, go ahead.
Okay, so you would trade Andrew Vaughn, huh?
Fuck yeah, in a heartbeat. A first baseman that can't hit home runs and has warning track power, and I've just come to the realization that's just what he is. After 3 years, you kind of know what a guy is. I would trade Andrew Vaughn.
Fair enough. Number 3 overall pick, right? Or 4? 3. He was 3.
I don't see it, man. 0.3 WAR, 102 OPS plus. I mean, he's got 12 homers. You're looking at a guy that's probably going to hit 20 home runs on the year. First baseman, RBIs, who gives a fuck. I mean, like he's an average player. That's what he is, in my opinion.
This is the problem with drafting a guy out of college, right? But who doesn't develop, right? He doesn't have as much time to develop. But I don't know. We're talking about a 25-year-old guy who still, I think, can hit his peak. So I don't know. I don't want to give up on Andrew Vaughn yet, but I really, really think he can figure it out. I really do.
I'm off the train on that. But yeah, that's just
fair enough. The next, might be the next AJ Reed, right? Former Golden Spikes winner, and
just couldn't pan out.
Yeah, flames out. All right, let's run through the rest of this. Yaz?
Yeah, trade him for whatever you can get. Just whatever. He's not going to net you too much, but trade him. There's no point of having him.
Jesus Christ, Billy. This is why you show up for the comments. This is why you show up and watch the show live.
It is. It looks like a nice casting couch.
It is. It's very comfortable. I will agree. It's nice to lay on. It's nice to have sex with.
Sex.
Yes. Segs. Sorry. Got to keep it PG. Elvis Andrus. Is he?
What are you going to get for him?
Good point.
Just DFA him. And Tim? That's something I want to bring up after we get through this. I want to bring up like what the Sox I think need to do right after you trade everybody. But yeah, keep going with the list.
Yeah. Tim.
Keep him. He has zero value right now.
Yeah.
And he's still relatively cheap for next year. And you're hoping for a bounce back. And then you trade him next year. But to trade him right now when his value is the lowest just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, I think John Heyman said it. He said Tim Anderson is worth nothing right now.
Yeah, he literally – I mean, when you're a guy that relies on hitting for average and contact, but you're still – I mean, he was still hitting 15 home runs a year. It's not like Tim Anderson was, like, not hitting home runs. Now you don't have a good average and you haven't hit a home run in a fucking year, right?
Right.
You are worth nothing, and you can't field. So it just would make zero sense to trade a guy at his absolute lowest value. So keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. Gavin Sheets. Is he on the trade block?
You could fucking ship him off to fucking Guangzhou, China, and I wouldn't give a fuck. I get him off this team.
Ni hao, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you had ample time to trade this guy, but of course, Rick Hahn, who is too much of a pussy ever since Tatis to trade any of his prospects, and now there is absolutely zero value for Gavin Sheets. Cannot hit lefties, cannot hit righties, and does not hit for that much power either. I mean, the only thing that guy's done that's decent is he actually isn't playing that bad of an outfield this year when you look at him. But
right,
I mean, he's worth negative 0.4 WAR. He's got an 82 plus OPS.
82 OPS plus, yeah.
He's not good. He's never been good, and you had the chance to get rid of him. So whatever, who gives a fuck on him?
Yeah. I think like running through, I think that's the problem with running through the roster and saying, would you trade them? I think the answer is, of course, you would trade them.
Yes.
The thing is, what are you going to get for them?
Exactly.
Right?
You don't want to just trade to trade, right? Like Tim Anderson. Why would you just trade him to just trade him? Like, get value for him. So.
Right. So let's entertain the names that are interesting at least. So Keenan Middleton.
Yeah, you trade him. 1-year contract, actually doing very, very well this year. A playoff caliber team would give him away. I mean, like, I'm not expecting Rick Hahn to do this because the guy's an incompetent fucking prick who's probably one of the worst GMs I've ever seen. But like, Yordan Alvarez was traded for a shitty middle reliever, right?
Yep.
Try to find a guy like that, like just try something, Rick Hahn, so I would trade Middleton and all these, the Gravemans of the world. I'm sure you're going to ask about them, but like I would trade all these guys. Yeah, and I agree with Jordan. I'm keeping Gregory Santos.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like the team control, right? He's not an unrestricted free agent. Anybody who's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season,
get rid of them.
You have to get rid of them. Like Rick Hahn should be absolutely busy. He should be having the busiest time of his life right now, trying to call up every fucking team, trying to make deals happen, trying to say, well, hey, this team offered me this for this guy. What can you do for me? To another team. But the problem is that's not Rick Hahn. He's comfortable, despite being one of the worst GMs in the league, despite literally taking a core full of talent and absolutely ruining the vision by not supplementing it with true veteran talent, right? And investing way too much faith. Investing way too much monetary resource in relievers and putting way too much faith in 25-year-olds to carry you to the promised land, right? He's still going to have a job. That's the fucking craziest part of all of it, right?
And I think Sox fans know this. I don't know if you know, but Sox fans' attendance is down like 100 and like I think it was like negative 120% from last year. Yep. Like ticket sales, season ticket sales. Sox fans know that nothing is changing. We know who fucking Jerry Reinsdorf is. I mean, look at the Chicago Bulls right now. They ran it back after squeaking in the playoffs, and they're running it back. They have changed nothing. They have changed nothing on that roster. So Sox fans, if you think anything's changing, just look at the Chicago Bulls. Ran by the same piece of shit owner, I mean, it took 17 years for them to fire Gar and Pax. Rick Hahn ain't going nowhere. And I think that's why Sox fans are just like, I'm fucking fed up with this. I'm not watching. I'm not going. Change something, and then maybe we'll talk, So, yeah.
Right. So we're in agreement. Anybody with an unrestricted free agent next year, you're trying to cut him. Who knows if Rick Hahn's going to actually do it? What about guys with club options? So, for example, a Joe Kelly.
Trade him. You trade Joe Kelly.
Mike Clevinger.
Yeah, you see what you can get for Clevinger. Joe Kelly, I think he's a decent reliever. I mean, and with that extra control. I think it can net a decent guy, So yeah, I would trade Joe Kelly.
Yeah. And then what about guys that are under control, like Kendall Graveman? So Kendall Graveman does have another year, and then he's an unrestricted free agent. Do you
trade him in a package? Put him in a package with somebody else. Put him in a package with a Giolito, right? Or a Clevenger to make the package a little bit better, just to get that better return. You don't. That's good. You don't need a Kendall Graveman when you're not competing for a division. There's no point of it. There's 0 point of keeping a Kendall Graveman, like a reliever that makes a lot of money. So none of these relievers that are getting paid high money make any sense or justification on a shitty roster. So
100%. We're just in agreement here, Kerry. We absolutely are. I mean, Kendall Graveman's going to be worth a lot more this year than he's going to be next year.
Exactly.
There's no way that the White Sox are going to be competitive in 24. I'm calling it. I'm calling it right now. Oh. I'm calling it right now. So, yeah, I almost put that one up. I can't do that. So I'm deceased. And this is why you join us in the live comment section, everybody. Jim, Senior, Jordan, who else was in here? Billy, thank you for joining us. This has been
John.
John's all right. He's not the worst, but I know we're his second or we're probably his 14th favorite podcast because of all the other ones. So
yeah, we just got to get a cool connection with liquor, and then we'll be golden.
That's right. We need to start buying hundreds of dollars worth of brown liquor. If they make the right trade moves, they can be semi-competitive. Maybe in a couple years, because the thing is, making the right trades would be technically, I don't know, it would look like rebuilding the rebuild a little bit, in a sense.
Retool, essentially, what they, theoretically should try to do, but I don't fucking trust Rick. Rick Hahn tried retools all those years with Quintana and Eaton and Abreu, and those were guys in their prime, and you couldn't do shit with them. So what makes you think that with a worse roster,
right. 2013 to 2016, those were all retool years. That's what he did.
Horrible.
And I mean, he sniffed a quarter of a season's success in 16.
Literally 2 months of success, and then that's it. So
that's exactly it.
That's just Rick Hahn's tenure. That's Rick Hahn. So
it's just absolutely disappointing. That's the problem. It's a top-down problem. Jerry doesn't care enough. Kenny is Jerry's boy, and with that, Kenny's boy is Rick Hahn.
Yep.
So yeah, it's crazy to think that we used to love Rick Hahn.
And I'll admit it, I fucking thought he was making all the right moves until the Machado thing happened, and that's when everything kind of just went downhill. So
100%. You can't strike out on a big time free agent like that when you needed a new cornerstone of your franchise. At least at that time, because you weren't. Luis was signed, but he was still in minor leagues, right? Yeah. So
all those guys were still in the minor leagues in 2016, 2017. That summer of 2017, it was literally just Moncada and Tim Anderson.
Oh, for sure. Machado was the off season going into 19. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. I still don't think that they're going to be competing again in 25, maybe 26, maybe.
Here's the problem, though. This division is so bad that what Senor is saying is true.
Yeah.
Right. You could retool and be competitive next year because this division is the Guardians last year steamrolled through the division second half of the year. They're horrible this year. They're not a good team.
Right.
The Twins this year, I mean, Buxton's been bad, and I'm just waiting on them to implode. Twins aren't good. I'm sorry. And they're getting older. I don't think they're going to repeat what they did. I mean, the Royals don't even have a top 100 prospect, and they're a horrible fucking team. And then there's the Tigers who suck. But you could theoretically retool and win the division. And yes, Jim, win the division just to get smoked in the playoffs.
Right, and that's exactly what's going to happen to the Twins. The Twins are going to continue their winless playoff streak this year.
At least that'll be fun.
That's my prediction right now.
And tweeting at that Ted guy, I love that. So
100%. And I think this is the kicker here. Yeah, they should be competitive in 25 and 26. It's probably not likely, and it's going to take some right moves. Some, not all of them, just some. Like, think of a really solid move, medium to big stakes right move, correct move that the White Sox front office has made in the last couple of years. Signing Luis.
Signing Luis.
Who plopped in their lap.
I mean, Grandal was good his first 2 years. I mean, I do have to say, but you knew what you were getting when you were signing a catcher to a contract like that, right? Like you knew eventually the wheels were going to fall off, and they fell off pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
Same with Lance Lynn. So I don't really know if he's even made like a great move. I think his best moves are unintentional moves like Johnny Cueto and Gregory Santos, and like players like that where you're like, what? Like those are where he's been decent. So
exactly. And those fringy moves are important. Don't get me wrong, but you can't strike out on the big free agent signings. You just can't. And that's really what, in my opinion, what's killing this team.
Yeah.
Like, I think they do need true superstar talent. I've always been a believer in that. Like, I know it was told to me, and I don't want to throw him under the bus because I'll tell you what, he's a lot more baseball smart than I am, is Alex Rude. I think this past offseason, I was like, they need a superstar talent, and he disagreed with me. And I really do. I really think they need a superstar talent. Luis is that, but I think they need another one.
But look how long it took for him to become that.
For sure. It takes time. It took him
3 full seasons, and now he's fucking amazing. You needed to supplement the time for guys like Luis and Eloy and those guys to develop. You didn't have anybody, so that's now why we're in the situation we're in. So,
most definitely. And we can't expect Colson Montgomery to come up next year and be the next A-Rod.
Oh, and then you put too much pressure on the fucking guy. It's just makes no sense. So,
yep. Well, Kerry, we're over a half hour. We try to keep these things around a half an hour. Wrap up that.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, okay? Please wrap us up.
And I was going to say this. The one thing that I don't want the Sox to do, okay, is after you trade these guys, is keep the Elvis Andrews of the world up. And some of these guys that are old and you don't fucking need on your roster, please bring up guys like Jose Rodriguez and Lenyn Sosa. See what the fuck you have in some of these guys first before you just like keep on letting Elvis Andrews play for some fucking reason. Like, why are we doing Zach Remillard? I'm sorry. Fucking go away. Like, you're a 29-year-old prospect. We don't need you. See what these younger guys can do. Okay? So that's just one thing I just don't want to happen. And I know the Sox are too much of bitches.
Right. Exactly. And let these younger guys and be patient with their development too. Obviously, don't rush up Colson Montgomery, but do see what Lenyn Sosa is made of.
Yes.
So you can figure out what the hell's going on with him. Yes. Please figure out what Zach Remillard actually is. Don't do this up down stuff.
No, I don't even want him. I don't want to know what he is. I want to know what like Popeye is. I want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
He's breaking in Double-A. Bring him up. Just bring him the fuck up. Just let him see what we have. Yeah. What if he's fucking good?
Oscar Colas, right? Like Oscar Colas didn't need to go back down. We didn't need to see the Clint Frazier experiment.
No. Why do we need to keep on seeing Gavin Sheets? Play Oscar Colas and let him hit against lefties. Like, just stop with this fucking nonsense, Rick. Your roster's 16 games under 500 with your full good roster, your great roster you've built. Just fucking see what the young guys can do because you're at this point. So that's just one thing I hope the Sox don't do, which we know they will. So
1,000%. Well, speaking of our White Sox, they're on right now. It is 0-0 still in a game against Verlander, which is not surprising that Verlander has 2 shutout innings to start the game. But yeah, it's I cannot wait for this baseball season to be over, Kerry. I'll be 100% honest.
I think we're going to be saying that for a long time, my friend. So it's very sad, but I don't think we're getting back the hype and all that shit that, Sox fans had 2020, 2021. I mean, even the summer going into 2022, we're never going to feel like that again. So.
100%. Well, let's grit our teeth, Carey, get through it. Let's have a fun off season of fucking around and getting people to tune in, which I really love. Thank you to everybody that keeps this show going on the comments section. And it's always a blast to do this for you guys. Thank you for those of you that listen over podcast airwaves too. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we're on there too, but obviously join the live show because this is where it's really lit. That being said,
yep.
Have a good one, everybody. We'll be back probably in about a week or so. But that being said, apparently this show is too short, according to Senor. So a good old durr to my guy Jim. And have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.